Coming up on Tech News Today, Paul Thurrott from Windows Weekly is with us, and we'll find out if Microsoft is about to buy Yahoo. Also, is the Apple TV in production? And China passes up the U.S. in smartphone shipments. Get out there and buy smartphones, people. Be patriotic. All that and more next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, November 23rd, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford, featuring available Sync with My Ford Touch. Sync with My Ford Touch gets you to your destination with integrated turn-by-turn directions and directional arrows displayed on screen. Check it out in the new 2012 Ford Focus and at Ford.com/technology. And by the Epson Workforce Pro, the world's fastest two-sided printer, delivering high-speed two-sided color printing, copying, scanning, and faxing to keep your business running at full speed. Plus, you'll save on ink. Check out the Epson Workforce Pro this holiday season at Epson.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And we're very pleased to be joined today by Mr. Win Supersite, host of Windows Weekly, Paul Thurrott.
Hi, how you doing?
It's good to have you, man.
My phone chirped and vibrated just as you said my name.
Is it programmed to do that?
Can we do that again?
No, my wife has
Paul Thurrott.
had some comments to make, not about the podcast.
Do you need to take a call?
No, I'm good.
We could let you.
Could you people hold on for a minute, please? I'll just be a second.
Well, and appropriately enough, we have some breaking news about Microsoft. New York Times reporting, and Credit's deal reporter actually, with Microsoft signing an NDA with Yahoo in order to make a bid on the company. So they're starting to flirt again. According to the report, Microsoft would chip in billions of dollars in financing as part of a consortium led by Silver Lake and the Canadian Pension Plan Investment Board.
That sounds scary.
Among others.
A little bit.
Usual suspects.
Yeah, exactly. We hear about this all the time. What did you think of this, Paul? I mean, I was not expecting to see Microsoft get within 100 miles of Yahoo again, but it sounds like, A, they're talking about going in on it with other people, which Yahoo didn't want to do, and they've signed the NDA.
Yeah, I think this has to do with protecting Microsoft's search business. You know, if somebody were to take over Yahoo and decide they didn't want to do this Microsoft deal, because I've always felt like the strangest aspect of Yahoo was that they don't control their future with search. You know, they've always, well, not always, but they've usually farmed it out to someone else. And if they were to move to, say, Google or do their own thing, that would badly harm Microsoft's search engine, Bing, which right now relies on Yahoo for most of its market share. So I suspect it's around that kind of thing, not about any desire to own Yahoo or part of Yahoo or even own its search business, but just to protect
the defensive measure.
Well, it's funny, since recently we heard Steve Ballmer kind of saying, boy, did we dodge a bullet with that one. Because the Microsoft Yahoo merger didn't go through a couple years ago, and I think at that point Yahoo was around 40 million. Now they're hovering under 20. But
Steve Ballmer's crazy like a fox.
Right. And we all sort of took that to say, well, Microsoft has no interest in Yahoo anymore, but now it's like, hey, we're getting it for less than half.
We dodged
Might
that
look
bullet, but now the bullet's
attractive.
a lot smaller.
Exactly. And we have a shield.
It's like a Black Friday sale. They're like, you know, it's a lot cheaper now. You know, the original price was way too high, but, you know, at this cut price, I might get a playbook. I mean, a Yahoo.
Yeah, why not? It's the playbook of media service company. Premier media service company.
Actually, I think the list of reasons why not to buy Yahoo is way longer than the list of reasons to buy Yahoo, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Some other speculation in these stories could integrate Skype into Yahoo. There are some things there that could make sense. And they also want to get a deal done. Yahoo wants to get a deal done by January 7th. Forbes reporting that Dan Loeb's Third Point intends to nominate a slate of directors, and Yahoo would like to avoid that happening. So it may be that Yahoo is pushing this along as much as Microsoft, saying, hey, look, we're willing to deal here because we want to get this done by January 7th.
Beyond search, do you think there's any reason that Microsoft would be interested in Yahoo for its content partnerships? I mean, they have Xbox, they have a way to get content to consumers, and Yahoo's been doing some original stuff with video and things. Do you think there's any interest on that front?
I don't. I mean, I think they will justify it in that way if anything happens. Obviously, Yahoo's been working very hard on various mobile strategies and various web properties and so forth. But it's just odd to me that this company hasn't, for all the popularity of its site, it just hasn't really resonated as a brand and as a destination for advertising. And it just doesn't seem like that's ever going to happen. So yeah, I'm sure. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, there'll be all kinds of justifications if the deal goes through, but I don't think so, not really.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it when you said the list of reasons not to is longer than the list of reasons to do it. HTC also had their earnings report out. Not good. Q4 revenues will, or it's not an earnings report, it's a revision of their revenue expectations. They expect Q4 to be flat compared to the same quarter a year ago. Still pushing the idea that they'll bounce back and grow in the first half of 2012. However, they're also backing off on their planned acquisition of S3 Graphics. We mentioned yesterday that HTC lost the patent suit, or that S3 lost the patent suit with Apple in the ITC. So HTC is evaluating the feasibility of that acquisition. What do they say? A holistic reevaluation of the acquisition.
Now, I actually was under the impression that HTC had bought S3 for $300 million.
Exactly, I was under that impression too.
It's weird how this was. It was sort of. It was HTC against Apple, and HTC loses in court. Therefore, HTC spent money for S3 patents that they shouldn't have because they're not good enough. But that's actually not even a deal that's done yet.
Yeah, HTC wanted S3 for the patents, but when the patents failed, now they're getting cold feet.
Right, and HTC was interested in S3's patents because HTC had its own patents. They thought that Apple infringed on HTC's patents, and they lost in the ITC. So this other thing, this case with S3, with HTC, was very, very interesting to HTC.
Perfectly clear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like ABCs.
I don't see how anyone could be confused by this. And add to that confusion, the wife of the CEO of VIA is Cher Wang. She's the current chairperson of the HTC board. So there's a lot of interlocking directorates. If you know what I mean.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, exactly. A side note here, too. HTC is evaluating the feasibility of combining Chrome OS and Android for use in Internet access devices. I don't know if this is very serious. This is a Digitime story. But I don't know why you would use both in a device.
Well, currently HTC does not make they don't make laptops. They make tablets with Android. And the thing is, if they wanted to branch out and you move to that laptop form factor, Google was pushing the Chrome OS to be more of a desktop kind of experience anyway versus Android, which is, it kind of works on desktop. And then again, Google's also bringing Chrome to Android, which is even, I think, even further confusing. Because why would you need an operating system that is your browser in a browser?
I mean, Google kind of brought Chrome OS to iOS with their new Google Search app. I mean, that's as Chrome OS as I've ever seen. And it's actually kind of nice.
And you can use a lot of the advantages.
But then you have all sorts of other stuff that you can do with it.
You can use a lot of the advantages of Chrome OS in a browser by just using Chrome.
Yeah.
Do you have any speculation on this, Paul, of why?
I don't think that. No, I don't know why. HTC is not the company to combine Android and Chrome, obviously. That's something Google will almost certainly do in the future. I mean, I don't understand why they have two different OSs right now, but
yeah.
No, I don't understand this.
Yeah, I'm kind of skeptical on that, which you have to be sometimes with Digitimes. Moving on, Department of Homeland Security asserts that information released by the Illinois Statewide Terrorism and Intelligence Center earlier this month about the water pump that was damaged was based on raw and unconfirmed data, implying that this data should never have been made public. However, Joe Weiss, who's one of the people who revealed this hack occurred, told Wired, "This smells to high holy heaven." Because when you look at the Illinois report, nowhere was the word preliminary used. The Fusion Center, which reported this originally, is composed of the Illinois State Police as well as representatives from the FBI and Department of Homeland Security. They distributed the report to other critical infrastructure facilities in the state. So Weiss says it was just laying out facts. How did the facts all of a sudden fall apart?
Well, okay, so the Illinois attack preceded the Texas attack.
Right, there's also a separate Texas attack that we talked about, correct?
Now, the Texas attack was, I mean, someone claimed responsibility, assuming that this actually was the person that hacked in and was able to shut down a water system. This person said, or people, whoever, said that this was in order to raise awareness because the Illinois attack was so blatantly not locked down that they could replicate it somewhere else. So if it wasn't a hack attack in Illinois, isn't the Texas attack just proving that it's still possible?
Well, and add to that the Black Hat Conference and the DEF CON demonstrations about this sort of thing. We talked about the DEF CON, or I think the Black Hat demonstration, where they used Google to find passwords to SCADA systems that would allow you to get access to stuff. Granted, you have to do a little bit of effort, but the information's out there. I mean, I don't know that the DHS coming in here and saying, nope, no hack occurred, really changes the point that this stuff is insecure.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't built with security in mind, but in some cases has been connected to the internet, and you need to put security in mind now.
Sounds like you just described Windows there. You know, I was alarmed that there was no Call of Duty story here, but obviously this is the start of the Modern Warfare coming to life event, you know, that the Russians are secretly testing our water systems for some future attack. I mean, this is such an amazing story. Well, yeah, and there's a great article by Eleanor Mills on Cnet which kind of lays out why you need to be worried about this. You know, the idea of just shutting off the water is one thing. You want to have your water supply working. Yes. And also the sewage system can poison the water supply if it's messed with. So this is critical infrastructure. I'm curious why suddenly the Department of Homeland Security could come in and say, nope, no attack. I don't know what the Illinois folks were talking about, because it wouldn't make sense for the fusion center to send out a false alarm. They're not putting it in public. They're sending it to the rest of the infrastructure in the state. It just happened to leak to the public. But what would be the point of sending it out if it wasn't true? And it smacks of the DHS coming in saying, we didn't want this to get out to the public, so let's put the clamp down and tell people it doesn't exist. But that does a disservice, because we need to know that this stuff is insecure so that we could put pressure on people to fix it, right? I think you sort of answered your own question. I mean, I think the reason they came out at the end and said, look, this wasn't what they said it was, is simply so people wouldn't freak out about it. And sometimes this is what it takes for things to change privately, but yeah, you're right. We certainly have a right to know about it. Yeah, I think the freaking out is going to happen whether the DHS claims, in fact, there might be more freaking out if the DHS looks like they're covering something up instead of actually dealing with insecure SCADA systems. I don't think anyone doesn't trust the government. I'm not sure. Well, no, I wouldn't imply that. I'm not a Trotskyist. Do not. I just spent the last 3 days watching JFK documentaries, so yeah. I actually just finished reading Life and Fate by Vasily Grossman, which is all about Russia during the Battle of Stalingrad, and what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. So it does kind of put things in perspective. Let's take a quick break and thank our sponsors, Ford, and the makers of voice-activated Ford Sync with My Ford Touch. Sync is the in-car communications platform. It's not just an entertainment and connectivity system. It's an app platform. One of the great features of Sync is Sync Services. Services gives you audible turn-by-turn directions where you want to go, and displays an arrow so you know which direction you're going to be turning right, turning left, going slight right, all that stuff. Sync Services also includes business search so that you can just say, hey, where's the nearest In-N-Out? Where's the nearest gas station? A send to sync feature is my favorite. Use Google Maps or MapQuest at home, set up your route, save it to your Sync Traffic Directions and Information Systems account, and then when you get in the car, you just say, pull it up. I do this all the time. I sit down at home and I map it out on Google Maps, and then I have to go and I have to put it in again because I'm not using Ford Sync. You got to try this out. The ability to pre-save destinations to your account also is good. You can put home and office in so that no matter where you are, you say, take me home. It knows what home is and takes you there. It's all designed to help keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Ford Sync with My Ford Touch is available on the 2012 Ford Focus. And you can learn more about this and other technologies at Ford.com/technology. Go test drive a Ford. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. On to Apple rumors. I guess we should have made this a rumor mill, but it's just the one story. Jefferies analyst Peter Missick suggests that Sharp is retooling a production line at its factory in Sakai, specifically to manufacture modified amorphous TFT LCD panels that would be used by Apple in a TV. So essentially that means they're going forward with production of a TV. We could see one next year.
Misek says, based on our discussions, interestingly, other TV manufacturers have begun a scrambling search to identify what iTV will be and do because they want to avoid the fate of other industries and manufacturers who were caught flat-footed by Apple in other categories like the tablet.
Now, if you think that an Apple-Sharp relationship sounds weird, there are rumors that Apple is already working with Sharp on supply chain for OLED panels for future iPhones and iPads. That may or may not happen, but if it's true, you would think, well, if they're already going to be getting components from Sharp, this makes sense to be the company that they would get components for the television line that might come out next year.
This TV's been rumored for a while, and a lot of the fuel was from the Steve Jobs biography from Walter Isaacson.
It says so right.
So pretty much,
I've cracked it.
And everybody's thinking, okay, that means it's Siri on the television, so you can say, I want to watch Sons of Anarchy, and it'll find it on Hulu or Netflix or anything without you having to go through an interface. Then again, I mean, Apple working with Sharp is not that nuts. They could be working on a larger iMac for that reason. I mean, iMacs keep getting larger and larger. Why not go to this company that is used to larger displays? And they're not going to go to Samsung because they're in, like, what, 15 different battles with them.
What's the largest iMac right now, 27?
I think it's 27, yeah.
Does anybody want an iMac bigger than 27 inches?
Well, if you put a 32-inch iMac out, isn't it a television?
Yeah,
it used to be a 30-inch cinema display, and they cut that out for these new versions of it. I could see that happening. But the TV thing, if it happens, February is the rumor for when it'll be ready, but it'll be ready mid-year for, I guess, for consumers, was, I think, what the analyst was saying.
Well, and you know what struck me when I read that was they just moved out their summer announcement to the fall, right? The iPhone just took over the iPod announcement slot, meaning they could use that summer slot to announce some new kind of product line. So they always have a spring announcement with the iPad, a summer announcement with something else, and a fall announcement with the iPhone.
And Sony's also been scrambling, trying to figure out how to get their TV division going, too. I think Stringer said that we're working on our own special thing, so we're not worried about the future. But obviously, everyone is freaking out because Apple, like, completely changed the way smartphones were made, and they've changed the way the tablet market was. I remember, what was the tablet market before? The Slate PCs that nobody used?
Yeah.
Very few people. Not nobody, I'm sure. I had one, so not nobody.
You're not nobody.
I'm not nobody.
Not know how.
Paul, what does your gut tell you about this? Is this a bunch of malarkey?
I enjoy this kind of rumor because there's no evidence at all that Apple's working on a TV, and you almost get the idea that inside the company someone said, you know, we probably should make a TV, you know, based on all this stuff.
It's like life imitating art.
Yeah, but I do agree that would Apple put out a TV next year, that they would destroy Sony in this market very quickly. I have no doubt of that. In fact, Sony can scramble all they want. They're never going to catch up with Apple. So the only thing I'm a little confused about is the direction this thing takes, because as far as I'm concerned, the Apple TV is a pretty decent device. It works well for what it is. It's extremely inexpensive and very easy to add to an existing TV. So, you know, once you go up from a $99 device to, you know, a TV that costs $1,000 to $2,000 or perhaps more, it's a different value proposition. So I'm very curious, you know, what the size of the screen looks like and what that integrated bit is. I'm guessing it's going to be like Apple TV and or, you know, iOS, not like the Mac. That's how I sort of see it.
I've often thought you see Apple coming out with a much improved cinema display with a larger screen and some kind of docking slot that the Apple TV then just pops into elegantly so that you can buy them together or buy them separately.
Right.
Because I don't think anybody wants to have something that's built in.
They have to have that piece that can be added to other TVs, because people just have TVs and they don't necessarily just die every year. So you want to be able to give them that.
But doesn't that totally discount things like Mac Minis, Mac Pros, and iMacs? I mean, the reason why there's this all-in-one device, like Apple's like, you know what?
Sure.
People, I remember the first time I saw an iMac, I'm like, well, how am I going to upgrade this thing? This seems like I can't get into it. Then eventually I've seen what they've become. They look like just a monitor, and it's very difficult to change anything out other than RAM, because people are just upgrading so fast, they don't really care anymore. Seems, well, at least that's what Apple
Don't forget
does.
how, you know, they do things too. I mean, Apple will release a TV year one, and then year two, they'll say, you know, we got all this feedback from people who already own HD TVs, so here's the box you can add, and, you know, people will stand up and share. And you know, they'll roll this thing out over time. I mean, that's how they do stuff like this. So
yeah, and they do like to lock everything in a box. Don't forget that. That's true. Microsoft coming out with a blog post from Craig Eisler, general manager of Connect for Windows, saying that the company's going to put out a new version of the Connect for the PC. They're shortening the USB cable, adding a dongle so that multiple devices can tap into the same USB port, and also upgrading the firmware to support recognition from 50 centimeters, something called near mode. I love this. Paul, I heard you kind of snicker there. Is it a...
Well, I this is perhaps overstating my influence, but I actually believe that this post exists simply because I was so brutal in making fun of the video they released a few weeks ago where they showed some sort of futuristic, this is what the Connect will be able to do soon. And if you step through that video, as kind of neat and Ridley Scott as it is, all of it is absolutely impossible to do on the Connect as we know it now. And I wrote a post where I just kind of made fun of it. And again, I don't mean to dominate this part of the discussion, but there's a weird thing in the kind of the Microsoft part of the blogosphere where Microsoft's an easy target for virtually everything that they do, but there's something about Connect where people really like it, even though I feel that most of the people who are defending it don't even use the thing because it really doesn't work very well. And the people were really going after me for kind of brutalizing Connect, So now they come out with this thing where they say, it basically answers all my complaints, You don't have to be 6 feet or more away for this to work. It can work very close. Because if you look at that video, they're interacting with the Connect and they're right in front of it. And it will be far more accurate, both for voice and for hand gestures and so forth. So, we'll see. I mean, I would just point out that this thing is still completely vaporware. They are once again describing some future thing that we have not actually seen. They haven't even demonstrated it. So,
but it'll be available in early 2012. When
the
they
SDK will be.
When they
I'm
launch.
not saying it won't. I'm just saying, I just think it's interesting. So I suspect they originally meant or were intending to announce this at CES in January, and that they felt like maybe they had to do something that maybe if there was enough negative Connect stuff in the ramp up to Christmas here, that people maybe wouldn't buy the version for the Xbox 360. So I think this is their attempt to say, hey, this isn't a one-off. We're improving it. It's going to get better. And it will do those things that we said it would do.
For those of you snickering about why they're shortening the cord, by the way, Microsoft explained that as to mean they have better reliability. With a longer cord with USB, apparently there was a reliability issue. It wasn't like, this is the magical savior, a 3-inch USB cord, guys.
Also, according to The Verge, Microsoft planning to integrate the Kinect into next-generation televisions. That's according to The Daily, anyway. So there you go. Now, within 2 years... Sony, goodbye.
Well,
Samsung,
Sony and Vizio are
goodbye.
the rumored
Vizio, Vizio's partnering with
Sony and Vizio, the rumored partners for the
so
Connect
they're
televisions.
gone. They're failed because Microsoft and Apple have trumped you.
With Apple,
with their
you'll yell at
amazing
your
televisions.
TV, demand things of it, and with Microsoft, you'll just gesture wildly.
Just wave at it.
Well, by the way, actually, let's not forget that presumed Siri interface for Apple's TV actually does exist today on the Connect. I mean, it's not just, hand gestures.
It's
a
also
lot
voice
of
recognition,
It's voice recognition.
It's Costanza's household from Seinfeld.
Yeah, when you read that, there's both, actually, exactly, yelling and hand gestures. So there was a story in the New York Times a few weeks ago where they were saying, the future of Apple's TV is going to be the Siri thing. And I read that and I thought, well, but that's how Connect works today. It's voice recognition. You can say Xbox, play the video, or, search for whatever. It integrates with Bing, and you can search for content like X-Men, and it will bring up movies and games and whatever else is available through Xbox Live. So,
but again, do we want the Connect built into the television? That's what the story implies.
No,
I don't.
Really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do
because it's always going to get better.
There's web conferencing and things like that. I mean, for like actual phone calls, video phone calls, people have tried to sell those adapters for
no, but you can just have the Connect right now and do that. You don't need it built into the television.
Well, you don't have to balance it on anything.
It's too mobile, though. I mean, the thing needs to move around, and when you start everything up, it kind of looks at you and registers its location and so forth. I just think a built-in Connect would be immediately obsolete.
I hope it's elegant, not like just a big fat bezel, and just like they just kind of cram its Connect right
No,
there.
it's going to be a big fat bezel. I think you got to get used to that.
Yeah, exactly. I do wish they would put in a dog filter, thoh. Because that's what always throws it off for me is my dog comes wandering in and all of a sudden the Connect's like, oh, now there's two of you.
I'd like it to program or be able to program it to scare my cat when it walks by. Actually, that would be it.
Just zap it. Get out of here. Squirts
just
of
make
water.
a loud sound so it jumps, in midair.
Finally, Strategy Analytics reports that China is now the world's largest smartphone market by volume, overtaking the U.S. for the first time ever. Smartphone shipments in China reached a record high of 23.9 million units in the third quarter. That's up 58% from the previous quarter. U.S. saw shipments decline by 7% over that same time period to 23.3 million. So a huge jump for China and a little bit of a slip for smartphone shipments here in the U.S. They're attributing the big jump in China to cheap Android phones led by companies like ZTE.
I found this thing surprising, considering China has 1 billion people. The fact that the United States was way ahead, even though we have so few people compared to China.
Well, it's a different economy.
Well, yeah, that was one of the things. But now that they've taken over, now it seems pretty interesting.
Well, it looks from these percentages that it's more about more people in China reaching the middle class and being able to buy these phones than an economy slump in the U.S. I mean, they still would have trumped us in the same quarter had there been no growth loss at all.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah,
it's the fastest growing economy on earth, and an incredibly large and growing middle class. And combined with the prices of smartphones going down, and then the capabilities going up. I mean, that's like you said, it would have happened regardless of the economy here.
In addition to that, a congressional probe here in the U.S. is now looking into spying threat posed by Chinese telecom companies like Huawei and ZTE. They say the United States and the governments should respond to that threat. There are serious national security concerns. Huawei and ZTE, to their credit, both said we will cooperate happily with any kind of government investigation. But I think they're probably in the habit of saying those sorts of things.
Oh, if they said anything different, it would just make people more paranoid.
Well, their government gets anything they want out of them. So they're like, government asked for something? Yes.
Yeah, we're used to that.
Yes, you get that.
Yeah, they live in a country where that's boilerplate for them,
Right.
Yes, we agree to do that.
But Huawei did point out that their products have been deployed by 45 of the world's 50 largest telecommunications service providers, including BT, which chose Huawei to supply a new network backbone. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, Chinese company, therefore spying. But is it though? Is it? Well, it is a knee-jerk reaction, but is it a wrong reaction? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Sometimes the paranoid person is being followed.
That's right, exactly. I mean, I don't think it's a given that every piece of hardware made by a Chinese company has spying built in.
Right. Products. Lenovo makes fantastic ThinkPads, for example, and they're from China.
Right.
I don't believe it's spying on me now. I'll check as we talk, but
And all of our phones, all of our laptops are made in China. They're constructed in China or Taiwan, but a majority of the time
Some of those cheaper, like AT&T branded phones are ZTE, just rebranded.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same thing. So, like, they can get in here. It's Huawei that has the most amount of pushback. The phrase is always, citing security concerns, Huawei's been stopped.
Well, security concerns usually regard the telecom equipment, so not the phones themselves, but the switching and the routers, and that there might be some sort of backdoor programmed into the firmware that would be hard to detect, that would allow Chinese spies to just kind of pop in and spy on all of the U.S. traffic. But isn't that what the U.S. does to us already with the Patriot Act and Homeland Security? I mean,
that's why our phone should be made in China. So we're safe.
Transparency.
Because I hear they have a great firewall. All right, let's move on to the news views. Reports surfaced this week that a volume bug in the Galaxy Nexus would cause the phone's volume to drop to zero, mostly when other phones were nearby. Google says we are aware of this volume issue and have developed a fix. We will update devices as soon as possible. The Verge confirmed it with Google that the fix will be accomplished via software. Let's see if Google can get that fix out there before the Galaxy Nexus hits North America.
Speaking of Google, this is going to sound like a familiar story, but it's new. Google's putting a bunch of projects out to pasture, as it were. The company announced that Google Gears will cease to function December 1st. Wave will be read-only as of January 31st, 2012, and will be killed outright by April 30th.
Wave was still alive?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, Wave is actually still alive.
Okay.
You wouldn't know that. Also, something that's still alive, Null content will go dark October 1st, 2012.
That was the semantic search thing, right?
Yeah, you're probably not going to notice much of a difference. There's a reason that it's getting killed off. Google's renewable energy, cheaper than coal initiative is also going to get the axe. But Google says it's not because they don't care. They're going to continue to work on generating cleaner energy just through other initiatives.
Google has lined up hundreds of Disney movies that will be available for rent on YouTube's premium movie channel. These aren't bottom-of-the-barrel titles either. YouTube is going to have movies like Winnie the Pooh and Pixar films like Cars and Cars 2. Google already had deals with Columbia, Dimension, and Warner Brothers, so this continues YouTube's march into movie land.
Overdrive announced that ebook lending for some Penguin ebooks has been restored as of this morning, causing marginal applause from librarians. Library goers will still not have access to Penguin's newest ebooks for the time being. Penguin pulled its ebooks from the lending program Monday, citing security concerns. Security concerns? Because you might read something that make you think.
Speaking to All Things D, Seagate CEO Steve Luzco said the impact from the floods in Thailand will make hard drives scarce until late 2012. The floods didn't directly impact Seagate, but they did damage factories that make critical parts for hard drives. Luzco says that the impact of the flood on hard drive supply won't be evident until the next few weeks because hard drive companies already had inventory to sell. The CEO also mentioned that both HP and Apple understood the ramifications of the floods before most other companies.
Reuters reports Western Digital received approval by the EU's competition committee to purchase Hitachi's hard drive business for $4.3 billion. To get the deal through, though, all Western Digital has to do is sell off a couple of production operations, transfer staff, supply components, and license some intellectual property rights. And that'll do it. The deal was announced in March and will combine the number 2 and 3 hard disk drive makers in the world.
CNET reports Apple is working on its next-gen iPad, and according to display search analyst Richard Shim, it will have a QXGA panel at a resolution of 2048 by 1536. Apple's working with LG, Samsung, and its new ITV buddy Sharp. These displays would be IPS displays, but no AMOLED. Wait, there's more. CNET sources also say Apple's looking into a 7.85-inch iPad for a future release. That's very specific for a rumor. 7.85 inches. Plus, they'll dominate the 7.85-inch market.
I have an Apple story that's not even a rumor. It's just straight up true.
What?
Wanna hear
That
it?
doesn't, no.
Ready?
That
doesn't
Here
happen.
goes. Apple just approved the first subscription-based video game app on the iPad. Big Fish Games will charge users $7 a month so they can stream dozens of games to their iPads. It's going to make some people happy. Big Fish's founder Paul Thielen said it took some time to convince Apple to allow subscription charges in a game. Shocking, I know. But they finally relented and said, you know what? Since we're going to get the majority of this money,
We would
maybe
like
we'll
that
do
30%
this.
of your profits.
Yeah.
Nokia Siemens just announced its restructuring plan in a press release. 7 paragraphs into that release, you'll find the company is cutting 23% of its global workforce by eliminating 17,000 jobs by the end of 2013. That would mean for the company a savings of €1 billion annually. The CEO of Nokia Siemens, Rajiv Suri, said that the network equipment maker will focus on its mobile broadband business now.
Let's move on to the randomizer.
Nope. That's not the randomizer.
Yeah, spoiler alert. That's the randomizer.
I don't know who that was.
A new Android TV spot is out, and it mocks Apple's customer base. Have you seen this, Paul?
This is the funniest and most excellent thing I've seen all year.
So I want to
Because
know.
it's so perfectly true.
So it's a bunch of people standing outside an Apple store.
Look at these guys.
never-
Talking
the
about
Apple
how
Store.
awesome it is to wait in line forever
You
to
see
buy an iPhone.
fedoras and scarves.
How do you know they're not
You
waiting
see
for
the
Windows
two
Phone?
guys who take pictures of each other, of themselves.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And then there's the
Look
cute
at
girl
that
at the bus with the Samsung Galaxy S2. Now, where are they actually in front of an Apple store there? I don't think
No,
they
I
are.
think it's meant to look like an app.
I think they took an empty storefront and mocked it up because it's supposed to look like all those app signs, but I don't
Yeah.
recognize any of those app logos.
Nah, it doesn't look like an Apple Store.
They just made that stuff up.
I think we all know what they're doing.
I think it might be a bookstore.
Yeah, some empty space.
All the people inside are wearing lime green shirts too. That's also not Apple. Now, Leo mentioned
I
this
just-
on Twig and said this is more to make you feel better about being an Android user than to convince someone to switch.
Oh, I don't know. I think it works both ways.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's getting out of that Apple line. No. But I do think that it's Samsung people say,
Hopefully
you
it makes them
see,
think.
you dumb fanboys, our phone is better.
Who's the lemming
Too bad
now?
this wasn't like a Nokia ad or something. It's a pretty good ad. I mean, it
Yeah,
should be.
it is.
Android's like the market leader in smartphone OS. Why not one of the little guys saying, hey, look, we also have a cool phone, like HTC's Titan or anything at the end of that punchline would have been pretty good.
And it's probably no coincidence that they're doing this with the Galaxy S2 that's now white after all of the white iPhone kind of debacle leading, the last year. So I'm sure they're playing
Yep.
off that a little bit as well. Tom does not agree.
Well, I think it's also a. I think it's also.
Tom's like, I use an iPhone. I don't find this funny at all.
I don't think this is funny at all. I think it's evidence that Samsung can use in their patent case. Like, look, none of these people were confused. They can tell it was a different phone.
It's so much larger.
There's no design confusion here. All right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Epson, the makers of the Epson Workforce Pro, the world's fastest two-sided inkjet printer. This holiday, most of us have tech gadgets on our shopping list to give our family, friends, and coworkers, plus new gadgets for businesses. And as you look for the latest tech gadgets, if you're in a retail store, be sure to check out the Epson Workforce Pro. Epson has engineered the Workforce Pro for productivity, so it delivers high-speed, automatic, two-sided color printing, copying, scanning, and faxing, all the stuff you need out of a multifunction printer. And it keeps your business running fast, full speed, because I was impressed at how quickly, this is an inkjet printer, but it spits these things out at top speed. Epson has designed the Workforce Pro to help save you ink, too. What printer does that? Ink cartridges have extra high capacity and give you 50% less cost per page. Because I know when you're like, oh, sure, they're big ink cartridges, but they probably cost a huge amount of money. No, it saves you on ink cost. Actually, per page versus color laser, it's 50% less. The Workforce Pro prints for mobile devices like your phones and your tablets. And it works. Again, it's not like this big network headache. I've tried it, and most of the time when I try to network to a printer, it's like a crapshoot. But this thing works every time I've used it so far. Plus, its 580 sheet paper capacity means you'll load paper less often. Epson 2, that's the built-to-perform Epson Workforce Pro. Check it out at Epson.com this holiday season. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Sarah.
Yes.
What's on the calendar?
Glad you asked me that, Tom.
Also, pass me the wine.
Oh. First things first.
By the way, I just want to point out, I did get a wine delivery.
Oh, that's lovely.
Oh, wonderful. Paul participating in Wet Wednesday. That's really what it's called.
I was drinking it under the table, but now I know it's okay.
No, it's fine. Yes,
it's encouraged.
It's actually what we do all week.
It's not good for your digestion.
We just bring it to your attention on Fridays. If you want a Nook Simple Touch, how about a Black Friday Nook Simple Touch for $79, which is a limited edition model which has a special white bezel around the edge. Actually, the price is kind of more exciting.
I mean, yeah,
bezel.
exactly. I don't care about the bezel, but that's $79.
You can barely see it, but
no ads.
No ads.
No ads. It's going to set you apart. Obviously, Barnes & Noble going head-to-head with that 4th-gen Kindle for $79, but just for one day. This is a Black Friday deal only, so if you want it, get it while you can. 12 PlayStation Vita European titles have been revealed in advance of that February 2012 launch, including Charted Golden Abyss, Wipeout 2048. I actually looked that up to make sure it wasn't a typo.
It's a futuristic
It's
Wipeout.
a futuristic, a lot of hovercraft type of things going on, and a game called Reality Fighters. Unlocked Galaxy Nexuses. Nexi have started to hit American retailers. For example, Expansys USA is reporting 100 plus in stock right now for $750 for a 16-gigabyte pentaband HSPA version of the phone.
T-Mobile.
Yeah, which will work on, AT&T, T-Mobile. Also confirmed, speaking of the Galaxy Nexus, the Samsung Galaxy Nexus US launch is in December. We don't have an exact date yet, and I remember they originally said November. That didn't happen.
So Business Insider says just definitely December.
Definitely December. We just don't know exactly when. Let's hope that they stick to that month. Apple's Black Friday 2011 deals have been revealed. Yes, they're getting in on the action. Discounts on the iPad, iPods, iMacs, MacBook Airs, MacBook Pros, even accessories. Not crazy discounts, though. For example, the discount on the iPad is $41 off, which is the same discount that they had last year, which is actually less than discounts that you can get for refurbished models. So do your homework before you cash in on Black Friday deals at Apple. And finally, the Steve Jobs exhibit at the U.S. Patent Office Museum in Alexandria, Virginia is open now. What is it? 300 patents that have Steve Jobs' name on them, all behind a big set of iPhones. So if you're wandering through, you might want to check out all those patents.
Oh, you were serious about the iPhones? I thought you were kidding.
No, it's actually
really.
it's a visual display of patents. Would be kind of a weird display in a museum otherwise. You just kind of look through a book.
One of his patents was on a method and apparatus for displaying things in front of a gigantic set of iPhones.
So see, meta stuff.
Let's check what's incoming. No, let's check what's incoming.
Oh, this one.
Incoming message.
Our first voicemail
Harsh today.
puts into perspective Apple becoming the top computer maker if you count iPads as computers.
Hey, if Apple's products are being counted as PCs, what's a whole new spin on those commercials? I'm a PC. I'm a PC. Thanks, bye.
Now, arguably, that would have been true when they moved to Intel. There'd be a PC then, too.
There was always that war of like, well, PC means personal computer, actually. I hear Paul's side.
PC used to be IBM clone.
You know, it's like HTC would be the biggest computer maker in the world if we counted smartphones. You know,
yeah, exactly.
An iPad is a PC with a developmental disorder or something. I mean, it's not the same thing. I mean, it's you know, it's like a consumption device plus. You know, like a basic editing. I mean, it's really not the same thing.
Yeah, we were talking about this in our meeting. I don't think we talked about it on the show, but you know, it is a different thing than a phone, and it's a different thing than a laptop, and a different thing than a desktop. I mean, these are all different things. It's kind of silly to include desktops and laptops together these days as well.
The simplest comparison you can make is with cars. You know, there are trucks and there are crossovers and there are little Honda Civics. You know, you could haul fertilizer in a Honda Civic if you wanted to, but you would kind of ruin the thing doing it. I mean, you know, there's a vehicle that's made just for that purpose.
Yeah, what's with the new Prius that's big as an SUV, but it's like squashed down? Like,
this is the United States. We like things big.
That's unnatural.
And so they needed to make a Prius that matches our
appetites.
And appetites, exactly right.
Our next voicemail is about the present state of microwaves. We'd talked about the mod where someone was putting a tablet on the front of a microwave that would automatically play you a video the same length as what you're cooking, and this caller has an addition to that idea.
Hey guys, Mike and Dayton. In regards to the story about the microwave tablet situation, I'm really surprised the microwave manufacturer has not put a camera on there simply for scanning barcodes. You think about it, you've got a microwave meal, you scan the barcode, you throw your meal into the microwave, and voila, the microwave knows exactly how to cook whatever it is you're going to make. Now, granted, I'm not one usually to microwave meals, but I've got several friends that probably could use a little culinary help in that regard, and it sounds like a pretty cool idea. So keep up the great work. Have a great holiday. I love the show.
Brilliant, though,
I've
right?
never microwaved anything in my life, but I have some very specific ideas for my hungry man and my friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Could you imagine all the marketing speak you'll be seeing, like, on a microwave, it would say 802.11 next to, like, popcorn? I mean, that's not necessarily a good thing on the display.
Just a QR code. It wouldn't, you know.
No, I mean, on the boxes.
Really, are we
like
this
trying to buy a
late?
microwave.
I mean, how lazy do we have to be? You know,
more lazy.
We have a popcorn button on the microwave. Do we really need you know, hold the popcorn up to the machine and read a barcode, and it will cook until the exact last kernel is done? I mean,
I also have a bone to pick with a lot of the popcorn settings on microwaves because there are unpopped kernels at the bottom of that bag. Should have been in there 30 more seconds.
First world problem.
Indeed it is.
Listen, they're going to write books about the fall of the Roman Empire, and it will be us. You know, it's just
yeah. Chris Christensen writes in to TNT at twit.tv. I loved the story about the microwave that shows YouTube video for the length of time that you're cooking your food. I think I may be the target audience. In my house, we call the microwave the magic tea machine because my wife and kids keep finding cold cups of tea in it. Apparently, my attention span is somewhat less than the minute or two that it takes to heat water.
So the microwave that beeps 5 times when it's done is not enough.
No, he needs
for Chris.
He needs it to hold his attention so he doesn't wander off to some other part of his mansion where he can't hear the beeping.
Well, don't forget that thing could text him too. So even if
oh, that's right.
That was the other hack with that.
Yeah.
What if his phone is charging
I have the solution.
Do you?
In the servants' quarters.
The solution is they need to play 80s hair metal band videos. Because you would just stare in horror at
it.
This
Doesn't even matter how long they are. You're right.
It's like a car crash. Really? They did this?
Skid Row existed?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you have against Skid
Cherry
Row?
Pie?
That's a good song.
And then all
Actually,
of a
you could
sudden
have Warren's
ding, ding,
Cherry
ding, and your
Pie
tea
play
would be
while
ready.
you're making your cherry pie.
While you're
warm.
heating it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one cherry pie. Where's Chad?
It's brilliant.
Where is Chad?
Why isn't cherry pie appearing before me?
Cherry pie. The cherry pie. Because you're not Leo, that's why.
Yeah, exactly.
I do, don't I? Next email from Richard Hauser. Great show, but shocked by your dismissal of the Novell WordPerfect anti-competitive practices. It's a bit tough to remember now, but at the time, WordPerfect was a significantly better product than Word. 1, 2, 3 was debatably a better product than Excel. I know people who didn't upgrade their Win version because they couldn't lose WordPerfect. Office is now a significant portion of Microsoft profits. So if this is true, Microsoft owes Novell billions. I worked at a Fortune 500 company who switched Office suites much because we needed better OSs, and Lotus Suite just didn't exist. And it's not like Microsoft is beyond pulling something like this. They did this to IBM over OS 2.
Can I take this one, please?
Yes, please.
This is some convenient misremembering because WordPerfect was absolutely not better than Word in 1994. And WordPerfect, well, the company Novell, which I supported in a computer lab in Scottsdale, Arizona, completely ignored Windows 95 to their own peril. In fact, they previously completely ignored Windows to their own peril. So the thing we need to remember is that when he's remembering that WordPerfect was somehow better than Word, he's actually talking about the DOS version of WordPerfect, which was better than Word. But the problem was, by the mid-1990s, we had been using Windows for 2 to 3 or 4 years or whatever, and WordPerfect was just late to the game coming to Windows. And they did a really bad job. This was something I actually supported, and I remember this product. It was terrible. In fact, the Novell version of WordPerfect was one of the very few, if only maybe the only, major Tier 1 application that supported the registry in Windows 3.x, and it was awful. It was just an absolute disaster. So I get that these products were at one time better than their Microsoft equivalents, but by the time Windows 95 came around, it's absolutely false to say that they were better.
I'll take it from the other side. I was a Corel WordPerfect user, and I loved it.
So sorry.
I still have tons of files saved in WordPerfect that now I cannot access. But I don't think, and yeah, Microsoft did some crappy things. I don't think they did. I don't think that this was on purpose.
Not here.
Yeah,
not here.
I just don't.
You know something? You know, Microsoft was very competitive back then with those products. You know, they very specifically went after WordPerfect, and they went after Lotus 1, 2, 3, and Lotus Improv, which people forget about. But you know, there were modes in Microsoft Word that probably exist today where you could run that thing using the WordPerfect DOS keyboard combinations, because that's what people were used to, and you could run it with white text on a blue background, even in Windows, just so it was familiar to you. And that was something they did. You know, whereas meanwhile, the Windows version of WordPerfect, which was an absolute atrocity in the early 1990s, didn't offer that stuff. I mean, it was just a ridiculous waste of time. So I mean, I hear you. You know, we sort of miss the old days, but this is not what happened.
I miss WordStar. I really do.
I miss Emacs.
Last email from Albert Deshane, or I can just call him Albert. Thanks, Albert. AT&T crew, I have a simple solution to what to call a touchscreen device of any size.
Here we go. Good.
So we're like, are they tablets, are they phones, are they PCs? Take a cue from the media that inspired the tablet, Star Trek. They are pads, personal access display devices. Thanks, and I love the show. Thanks, Albert.
Points for Star Trek reference, but I'm not sure you're going to get everybody to go on to calling all of your touch screen devices pads.
With 2 Ds, so you guys say pads, right?
Yeah.
You really got to hit that D.
Or do like a Welsh sort of.
Is it a Welsh double D?
Yeah,
now?
double D is like
and then you could call it a pad phone. Oh, wait, there is already a pad phone.
Asus,
there you go.
Or Acer, one of them.
All right.
This needs further...
This needs further study.
We need a
further
focus
research.
group and a...
I like it. I like the Star Trek thing. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. You're going to call it pads from now on?
Yeah, why not?
All right. There you go. Well, Albert,
Gene Roddenberry got everything right like 40 years ago. I mean, who are we to contradict this
No, it's a good point. Albert, you have your first convert.
Convict, too.
Or possibly convict. We don't know. Jury's still out. Thanks to everybody for submitting stories on our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. We use it to help us pick stories every day, and we love the 3,000 plus, nearing 4,000 people in there that help us figure out what to cover each day. Even if you don't want to submit stuff, just go in there and vote stuff up and down. Don't forget, if you haven't done it yet, go find your favorite moments of Tech News Today from the year and submit them at twit.tv/bestof. We'll give you credit in the show, and it will help Jason put together an even better Best of show. twit.tv/bestof. Please go submit something, for heaven's sake. There are several moments in today's show right here. Developmental disorder, for instance. Tag that. Put it in there. twit.tv/bestof. Paul Thurrott, thank you so much. It's great we finally got you on the show. I'm glad you had the time for us today. Pleasure as always. Let folks know not only about Windows Weekly, but Win Supersite and all the stuff you do, where folks can find it online.
You want me to do it? It sounds like you just did it.
Well, I don't remember the addresses, so that's why I kind of set it up that way. I know it's on
most of what I do is now available in the Super Site for Windows, which is winsupersite.com. And you can find me on windowsitpro.com as well. And, of course, I do the Windows Weekly podcast, usually on Thursdays, but not this week because of the holiday with Mary Jo Foley and Leo Laporte. And
you're on Twitter, too, right?
I'm everywhere.
You're on.
I'm like,
just look up.
Twitter at Thurrott, my last name. My incredibly easy to spell last name.
2 R's, 2 T's. All the best last names have 2 R's and 2 T's.
Well, 3 T's technically.
No, that's true, actually. But 2 T's to go. Yeah. Terrot. All right, that's it for this episode of Tech News Today. Don't forget, we aren't live. We don't have new episodes until Monday because we're off for the Thanksgiving weekend. But we do have some special episodes coming in the feed. An incoming special, all your voicemails and emails on Thursday. And then Friday, it'll be up early, a tech shopping special. So you can listen to that before you buy your tech gifts this holiday season. We will be back Monday with our newest TWiT employee, Nicole Lee, on the show. We'll see you then.